What tool should you use to build your next project? Bubble or Webflow? In this video, I am going to compare these two amazing no-code tools side by side, providing you with a lot of valuable information so you can decide which one is best for you and your next project in the end. Hi, I'm Caio Calderari from AutomationHelpers.com. We help companies like yours get automated using industry-leading tools to build portals, apps, automation, and much more. Subscribe if you want to leverage tech to help your business grow. Okay, now let's talk about Bubble and Webflow so we can compare them side by side. I'm gonna introduce you to Bubble first and then talk a little bit about Webflow, and then we are gonna dive into specific categories to compare each tool side by side. Bubble is a no-code app platform. It's a no-code builder that allows you to create web applications and now, more recently, native mobile applications as well without typing code, all drag and drop through a visual builder. Bubble is one of the most powerful no-code tools out there, with more than 3 million users and more people using it every day. The idea while using Bubble is to have a single platform with everything you need, meaning database, logic, workflows, and the visual editor. Bubble allows you to build everything without typing code, and you have all the features you need to build complex types of applications and even applications that can scale over time. Bubble also offers a lot of plugins that you can use to connect to third-party services, to add new features and components to your editor. You can also integrate Bubble with AI tools such as OpenAI's API and ChatGPT and other AI models as well. And by the way, if you want to learn how to connect Bubble with OpenAI, there is a full tutorial here that I recorded for you on the channel. Make sure to check the link on the video description section down below. Now, let's talk a little bit about Webflow. Webflow was created with the idea to become a website builder, a no-code website builder, and it allows you to create websites, landing pages, and other types of applications as well. Now it has evolved to become not only a website builder, but also a no-code platform as well, becoming a close competitor to Bubble and other no-code tools in the market. The main focus while you're using Webflow is to build marketing sites, landing pages, and even blogs. You can also build e-commerce stores with Webflow. But because Webflow was originally created to be a website builder, it has more features for designers, for instance. So if you're building a very complex type of visual, or if you want to build custom pixel perfect designs coming from Figma, or if you want to build something that has like scrollable animations, 3D effects, and other types of UIs that are a little bit more out of the box, Webflow will be better for that, and it will provide you with more functionalities out of the box to be able to achieve these kind of more different types of designs. While in Bubble, it might be a little bit more difficult to achieve such results. It's not going to be impossible to achieve the same results with Bubble, but of course it will be more difficult for you, and it will require you to know a little bit more technical things and maybe use external code and extra plugins to achieve the same result. Now, of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We are going to dive into these two tools and compare them a little bit more in detail as we continue on this video. So let's keep going. Now, if you ask me, Caio, what is Bubble best for? What can I build with Bubble? Well, you can build all types of projects using Bubble. Honestly, like if you ask me, hey Caio, I have an idea here. This is the app I want to build. Can I build it with Bubble? 90% of the time, the answer is going to be yes, because Bubble is very flexible and customizable and very powerful as well. And if you need to build a little bit more sophisticated types of projects, you can also leverage plugins, APIs, and third-party services to make your application even more powerful and robust. Of course, there are some limitations, some edge cases, and specific use cases that Bubble will not be the best solution for you, so be aware of these situations. For instance, if you want to build 3D games or other kind of VR or augmented reality types of projects, maybe Bubble is not going to be the best option for you. But even though I would say it's really hard to judge, because I've seen people doing crazy stuff out there, and if you have more technical knowledge and background and experience, then you'll be able to even add custom code to Bubble. You'll be able to create your own plugins or APIs. So honestly, like if you know what you're doing, the limitations will be actually what you can do and what you know and how to achieve what you want to build. Now you can build web apps that will run on the web, on your browser, And now, more recently, you can also build native mobile apps, meaning you can actually send your app, your native mobile app, to be downloaded on the iOS or Android store, which is really great. Now, if you're saying, Kyle, give me some tangible examples of what types of projects I can build with Bubble. Here we go. You can build marketplaces, meaning you have a person selling something and a person buying something. So similar to eBay, similar to Airbnb, similar to Uber, or you can build SaaS applications of all kinds with AI, without AI, task management projects. You can build AI tools that are going to be sold as a SaaS product, as a SaaS solution. You can build social network applications similar to Facebook, similar to LinkedIn. You can build booking systems. You can build e-commerce platforms or applications that have some sort of payment integration with Stripe or with PayPal. You can use Bubble to build all sorts of internal tools for your team, for your company, or to sell to your client portals, CRMs, inventory management systems. You can build dashboards or even analytics tools. As you can see, it's very flexible and customizable. You can build all sorts of projects and types of projects for you, for your company, for an internal purpose, for clients, to build a SaaS, to build a startup, to build a mobile app, whatever you want to build, I'm sure you'll be able to build with Bubble. By the way, if you need help building a project or if you have any questions, we are here to assist. Visit our website at automationhelpers.com. We are offering a free 30-minute consultation call with our experts. I'm sure they will be able to help you build your next project. Visit the link down below and book your call today. Now let's talk a little bit about Webflow as well. What can I build then with Webflow? What's the main difference? Well, you can build marketing websites, and by the way, you can build sites with Bubble as well. But then once we talk about websites specifically, Webflow is going to be best for websites because it is a tool focusing on great website experiences. Now you can ask me, Kyle, can I create my website using Webflow and then create a SaaS project using Bubble and then have both working together? Yes, a lot of people are actually doing that. So if you want to use Bubble to build a landing page, a website, of course, that will also work, but it's not going to be the same type of website and landing page that you can build with Webflow. I'm completely sure that in terms of interactions and UI, yeah, you can get a good and decent UI built on Bubble, but the same level of effects, animations, no, you're not going to be able to achieve using Bubble unless you actually use some sort of plugin or if you have a lot of experience and you want to actually make that happen with Bubble. I've seen people creating amazing projects with Bubble in that regard, in that aspect with animations, integrations, but then of course that's going to take you a little bit more of time if you want to achieve that same sort of granular level of detail while you're using Bubble. Now, since Webflow is a tool that is more focusing on web design and web development out of the box, you have all the features built in for you for animations and for little details and transitions out of the box, and it's going to be way easier for you to build these kind of more beautiful and design-oriented types of projects using Webflow. Now, you can use Webflow to build, of course, like I mentioned, websites and landing pages, but you can also build content websites, meaning a blog. You can also build an e-commerce storefront using Webflow. And you can also use Webflow to build more complex types of applications, no-code applications, but then Webflow is going to be your front end, while you're going to have to use other tools for your backend, for your database. Of course, you can use the CMS that comes built in with Webflow for the blog, or even for other types of applications, like if you want to build a marketplace with Webflow. Can you do that? Yes. If you want to build a logged-in membership area with Webflow, can you do that? Yes. Can you do that with Bubble? Of course, you can do it. But the difference is, when you use Webflow, if you want to build more complex and sophisticated types of projects, similar to what you can do with Bubble, the main difference is with Bubble, you have everything you need out of the box in one single platform, while with Webflow, you will require external services, plugins, and third-party services to achieve the same results. For instance, if you want to build a SaaS using Webflow, or if you want to build a directory or a marketplace or a dashboard, can you build it with Webflow? Yes, but then you will need some other tools like Wizd, for instance, to build more complex types of solutions with Webflow. So Webflow has been evolving so far to allow you to build even more different types of projects, but have in mind, maybe you will need third-party services to achieve that end result. Webflow has the CMS, which is their database, but it's built for blogs, not for entire applications. So you have to manage this. If you want to integrate Webflow with other types of databases, of course you can do that, but then you will need some sort of plugin, for instance, like WhaleSync, to handle this communication between the database and your Webflow. So think of Webflow like a front-end UI builder, which is really great and amazing, but it's not an all-in-one solution like Bubble is out of the box. Now we're going to dive into more specific criteria that I've prepared for you, and I think that will help you understand even further which tool you should use in the end. Let's go. The first criteria here on my list is easy to use / easy to learn. Kyle, which one is easier to learn, Bubble or Webflow? Well, none of these tools are going to be very easy to learn. I'm sorry to say, but yes, you'll have to spend a considerable time to learn how they work. I know, they are no-code tools, but still, you're going to be building software. You're going to be building web applications, and this is by nature a complex process. Of course, if you want to build a very simple type of project, then it's going to be easy. But if you actually want to build professional level applications using either Bubble or Webflow, yes, there is a steep learning curve. You will have to spend a couple hours, if not months, actually learning how to use these tools. But the good thing is, once you master these tools, you can build any type of project you want. So it's a good trade-off. Now, if you compare Bubble and Webflow, they both also offer pre-made components that you can use. And these pre-made components can speed up the process while you're building, because you don't have to build just a button, a text, or single components. You can drag entire sections to your page and get your job done easily and faster. Now, to learn how to use Webflow, you need to understand a little bit about HTML and CSS. You're not going to use HTML and CSS per se, but you need to understand how it works, because some of the components have similar names and you also have the same concepts while building with HTML, but in a visual way while working with Webflow. And Webflow also has a class system that allows you to create, similarly to CSS, some tags and names, and you will be able to style and give your styles names and use them combined in the same way that CSS works. So if you have no prior web development skill at all, it will take you some time to understand how it works. Bubble doesn't require you to understand HTML or CSS because it has a different type of visual editor that doesn't compare the components or classes to HTML and CSS. Now, if you're actually willing to be able to develop web applications using no-code tools, I really recommend you go after learning these terms and basic web design concepts, because regardless of the tool you end up using, these terms will be beneficial and good for you if you know them and are familiar with them. So make sure to learn web development as well if you want to become a no-code developer. If there is anything special that I haven't mentioned about in this particular video comparison, make sure to send a comment down below. Now, if you ask, Kyle, which one is more flexible? In terms of flexibility, both tools are very flexible because you can add code to Bubble or Webflow if you need to. You can add CSS, you can add JavaScript, and you can also add external plugins. Now, I would say the Webflow's editor is likely a little bit more customizable and flexible because it's a little bit more advanced and powerful. And in terms of the UX, meaning you as a developer using the tool, Webflow is a little bit better as well. I would say that the usability, the overall user experience while using Webflow is superior, but Bubble is not too far behind and it's getting better every time. So if you're willing to learn how to use either Bubble or Webflow, you will have a similar user experience. And in my personal opinion, Webflow is going to be a little bit better while you're using the Visual Builder and using the features provided in the Visual Editor. The UX is a little bit better in Webflow. Now let's talk about one of their main features: design components and customization with pre-built components. Like I mentioned, both tools have a lot of design components built in, and you can start with a single button or a text component or GIFs or groups, and you can build your entire pages from scratch. But if you don't have skills to start from scratch, if you want to leverage pre-made components, both Webflow and Bubble will provide you with pre-built components that you can drag on your page and start building sections and maybe pages instead of building single components like buttons and texts. Of course, you can also find a lot of pre-built components and templates provided on the marketplaces. Both Webflow and Bubble have their own marketplace where you can find thousands of different projects, templates, and assets that you can use to speed your development process. Now let's talk about internal databases. Bubble has a built-in internal database. It also has option sets, and you can build a lot of different types of projects using their internal database. But if you need extra databases, or if you want to connect Bubble with other third-party services and databases, you can also do that by using APIs or using plugins. You can connect it to Zeno, Airtable, Supabase, and basically any other type of database you wish to connect to. And you can use Bubble's internal database while also using external databases simultaneously. That's an option you have. Bubble also has option sets that can be used to store quick and fast information that you want to fetch on your database interface that doesn't require you to query the actual internal database to do so. So that can be also a powerful resource that Bubble offers out of the box. While in Webflow has a CMS that can be used to create a blog. And if you happen to use the e-commerce plan available inside Webflow, it will also store your products on an internal database. But the CMS database that comes built in with Webflow is not as powerful as the database inside Bubble. And so it's a different type of database. If you need more robust types of databases, you can also integrate external databases with Webflow using third-party services. Like I mentioned before, you can use WhaleSync, for instance, to connect Webflow with Airtable, with Zeno, Supabase, or you can also use a tool like Wizd to create more complex types of integrations and create more robust solutions with Webflow. And Webflow is going to serve more like the front end for your application, while these other tools will handle the rest. In terms of responsive design, both Bubble and Webflow offer a lot of nice features for you to build responsive layouts. Both tools offer you with all the resources you need to build responsive designs. Now, in that specific regard for responsive designs, like I've mentioned before, the user experience inside Webflow is going to be a little bit better, and they have more advanced and better features for you to build complex types of responsive designs out of the box. While in Bubble, it's better now. They have a new responsive engine. They have better features available for you to build responsive designs. It's possible to do that. I even have a full tutorial here on the channel if you want to learn how to use Bubble's responsive design. But if we compare Bubble and Webflow, I think Webflow takes the lead on the responsive design side of things, okay? Now, when we talk about workflows, both Bubble and Webflow have built-in logic features. Inside Webflow, it's going to be called logic, and inside Bubble, it's going to be called workflows. Since Bubble can handle more complex types of project, and it was built to be a no-code platform to build more complex types of projects, Bubble has a better workflow area, and it allows you to create more advanced and complex types of workflows and logic. Now, more recently, Webflow created this workflows section, which is called logic on their platform. It is a good start, but it's still very early stage. It allows you to create HTTP requests, connect to APIs, create webhooks, but that's basically what it can do. It allows you to connect with internal forms, but that's very limited if we compare to what Bubble can do. Now, of course, you can expand its functionalities using third-party tools, but if we compare what comes native built in each tool, Bubble is going to take the lead in terms of workflows and logic features. Now, in terms of versioning and backups, Bubble is also a little bit more advanced. It has branches, the development version, the live version. It has versioning, history. You can work with your team and kind of have a similar process that you would have while you're working with GitHub, for instance. So you can merge branches, you can have different versions, and you can control these versions in a more granular way. While in Webflow, you have backups. And if you want to restore your project to a specific point in time, you can revert your project version to a specific backup you have, but that's basically all you can do for now. So Webflow is a little bit behind in terms of versioning if we compare it to Bubble. Now, in terms of hosting and infrastructure, both tools will provide you with hosting services while you sign up for a plan. So once you decide to use either Bubble or Webflow, you're going to have to pick a plan. And based on the plan you choose, it will provide you with hosting, meaning your website, your application will be stored on the cloud, and they will handle the hosting for you. They will handle the servers, the infrastructure, the uptime, the security, all that you need to make sure your application is running 24/7. Both tools have the same concept. You build with their builder, with their editor, and once you're ready to publish your application, you click on a button and they will deploy this application live on the web with your custom domain. And custom domain is also something that is available on both tools. Once you pick a plan, you add your own URL, meaning your website.com, and your application will be hosted on their hosting server, and it will be using your custom desired URL. So when a person goes to your website.com, they will access your website or your application that you built either with Bubble or Webflow. The idea with no-code tools is very similar for most no-code tools. You pick a plan, you build your application, and then you deploy your application. And all you have to do is to keep paying for their plan, their monthly or annual plan that you choose. And then once your application grows or scale, you will have to upgrade your plan to provide more resources for your application to consume. The more your application grows and more users visiting your application, the more resources will be required for you to run this application. And that's going to define how much you need to pay for each specific plan, because each specific plan will provide you with a different amount of resources for hosting. But don't worry, because I'm going to cover pricing for each individual tool, and we are going to take a look at all the plans in a sec. Now, I need to ask you, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, click the like button down below. That really helps. Thank you. Now, a question that I get a lot is, Caio, can I export my code after I finish building my application using a no-code tool? This answer is tricky because yes and no. Some tools will allow you to export the code, but sometimes it doesn't make sense to export the code. I'm going to explain it in a sec, but that's a question that I get all the time. Can I export my code? And another question that I get is, do I own my application? Am I the actual owner of the application, even if I built this using this no-code platform, since the application is going to be on their platform and they are going to host it for me? Do I own the application? Am I the owner? Can I call it mine? Well, the answer is yes. The IP is yours. The intellectual property is yours because you're building it with their platform, but you are building it. So yes, you are the owner. You have all the rights. You can even register your brand or trademark, and even maybe register the invention that you created, even if you used no-code tools. Now, of course, some tools will allow you to export code. Others won't allow you to export code. Bubble is not going to allow you to export the code of your application. Webflow is going to allow you to export code. But there is a little catch here, because Webflow is going to allow you to export the code. But once you export the code is going to be functioning by itself. So if you're building a page that has a lot of integrations, workflows, logics, database, you're going to be able only to export something that is static. It's not dynamic. So the only reason for you to export the code is for some reason if you want to get like a simple website or static landing page from Webflow and host it somewhere, because maybe you don't want to pay for their hosting services. But other than that, it doesn't really make too much sense to export the code because the code was built on the platform to work with the platform. So it doesn't really work that well if you export it from the platform that originated it. And the idea is not to use no-code tools to build the code and export it and run it somewhere else. The idea is to use the entire ecosystem, the entire platform, because you're going to need to change this application over time. So if you export code, then you just have code. You won't be able to edit it again using the platform. And if you do go back to the previous version that is still on the platform, you'll have to do this process over and over, export and upload it again. And trust me, there are a lot of benefits that come with not being able to export code, which means having their entire team updating the platform for you, taking care of the security, the hosting, server infrastructure, and everything else. All right, let's now talk about pricing. First, I'm going to talk about Webflow. Let's go to the website here. As we can see, we have some side plans. So the free one gives you 2 pages, 20 CMS collections, 50 CMS items, 50 form submissions, free localization preview, which allows you to translate your website into multiple languages, and 1 GB bandwidth for the hosting. Now, on the free plan, you don't get a custom domain. You only get a webflow.io domain, meaning you will be able to publish your website live, but people will be able to access your website or your project using something.webflow.io. It's not going to be your website.com. This free plan is just for you to get started, learn the tool, and build something. And then once you're ready, you upgrade to any of the existing paid plans to actually be able to professionally provide your web application to the world. The basic plan starts at $14 a month on a yearly plan. Of course, all the plans, if you go on a monthly basis, it will be a little bit more expensive. If you choose a yearly subscription, it's going to cost you a little bit less, okay? Now, on the basic plan, you have a custom domain, 150 pages, 0 CMS collections, meaning you don't have the ability to build a blog, for instance, on this basic plan. If you want to build a blog, or if you want to use the database, which is the CMS collections, you will need to upgrade to the CMS plan, which is going to start at $20 a month on an annual plan, okay? Now, this one has 500 form submissions, this one has 1,000, and the next one has 2,500 form submissions. Each submission will consume 1 credit from this number here. So if you have a huge volume of people sending you contact messages, probably you will have to upgrade to other plans in the future as your company grows, okay? Now here you also have the free localization preview, 10 gigabytes for the bandwidth, and also this kind of protection. When you go to the CMS plan, you have 50 gigabytes for the hosting, surge protection. You can allow 3 editors to edit things on your website, and also you have site search. The more you pay, the more you get. That's always like this. If you go to the business plan, then you get a custom domain, 300 pages, 40 different CMS collections, 10,000 CMS items, a lot more form submissions, free localization, 100 gigabytes for the bandwidth, search protection, 10 editors, site search, and also a form file upload. Now, you can also check here if you have more CMS items, how much it's going to cost, or if you need more bandwidth for your project. And of course, if you need more than that, you can contact the Webflow team and they will create a custom plan just for your project. Now, have in mind that this is the site plan. There are also other plans here. The e-commerce plan, which is a separate plan. So if you want to build a storefront and e-commerce platform using Webflow, that can mean you build a website and an e-commerce store, or just an e-commerce store. You will have to pick any of these plans. $29 a month on the standard plan for 500 e-commerce items, 2,000 CMS items, 2% transaction fee. Yes, every time you make a sale, you will have to pay 2% on top of the entire price of your sale. All CMS plan features, and then if you want to upgrade, it will increase the amount of products you can have, the amount of CMS items. It will reduce the transaction fee to 0%, and it will allow you to use all the business plan features. Now, if you go advanced, you have more e-commerce items, more CMS items, 0% transaction fee, and also all the business plan features included. Now, if we check here, we have workspace plans. These plans are for you as a developer while you're using the Webflow editor. Especially if you have a team or if you have an agency, you will have to pay for one of these plans because, for instance, on the free plan, you only have one user and you can add unlimited paid host sites, but then you can't create a lot of staging websites. So imagine this situation. You're building 3 different types of projects. You won't be able to have all these websites in staging on the free plan because there is a limitation on your account. So on the core plan, you have 3 users, unlimited paid hosted websites, which is the same for all the plans. But here is where there is a huge difference. You can have 10 Webflow staging websites, while on the free plan, you can only have 2. You can have 150 pages per site, where here you can have only 2 pages per site for the staging websites. You can have 50 CMS items per sites on the staging sites. Custom code is allowed. Site password protection, user roles and permissions, for instance, who can design versus who can edit content. You can export the code. You can also have 2 agency or freelance guests and also 10 free commenters. So if you're working with a big client and they also want to add their team to the party, you can do that by using these plans. And on the next plan, which is the growth plan for $49 a month, you can have more users and you have a couple other extra things as well. You have publishing permissions, you have shared libraries, but the rest is almost the same. Now, let's talk about Bubble. So Bubble also offers a free plan, which is basically similar to any SaaS application. No-code tools are SaaS tools as well. You pay to use them, right? So there is a free plan. The free plan is great for you just to get started because you are not going to be able to publish your project on a free plan. That's the basic difference between Bubble and Webflow. Bubble has 2 different environments, the live environment and the development environment. With the free plan, you won't be able to use the live environment, just the development environment, which at the end of the day is quite similar because you'll be able to build your project, you'll be able to share this with a subdomain to a few people, but technically it's different because Bubble has 2 different environments. So the free plan in both scenarios is just for you to actually start learning the tool, to build your application, make sure that this tool is the tool you want to use. And once you are ready, you are committed to use it, then you sign up for a plan because you will need to upgrade to publish your project live, add your custom domain, and so on. On the free plan, you get the development version. The API connector is also available, which allows you to connect to third-party services via API. You have the component library, one app editor, 50K workload units. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what they are. 6 hours of server logs as well, which honestly is a very good free plan that will allow you to do a lot of things and use Bubble for a while. Once you upgrade, the first plan you have is the starter plan, which costs $29 a month on an annual plan. And if you want to pay monthly, it's going to cost a little bit more. Now, let's take a look at what is included. You have the ability to publish your app live. You have access to a custom domain, recurring workflows, the basic version control, and 175,000 workload units, and also 2 days of server logs, okay? That's going to be good enough for all the basic applications just getting started. Once your app starts to grow, you will require more workload units, and then you will have to go to the growth plan or to the team plan. Another thing that can force you to upgrade is if you are working with a team, you want to have more editors as well. You can have 2 app editors here on the growth plan or 5 app editors on the team plan. And if you need more than that, of course, you can talk to the Bubble team and they will build a custom plan for you. The more you pay, the more workload units you get. You get other things like premium version control, 2FA. Here you get sub apps, you get 25 custom branches, you get 500,000 workload units a month, and 20-day server log. Okay, now let's talk about workflow units, also known as VUs, okay? So every time a person goes to your application, your live application, they will click somewhere, they will open pages, they will access specific features of your application. And for those features to function, they will perform some actions, sometimes some database query will be triggered because they will fetch information on your database and display that information once the page loads or once someone clicks on a specific button. All those little things and actions and the page loads will consume VUs, will consume workload units. And you can, of course, optimize your application built with Bubble to spend less workflow units. So every time someone clicks on a page, some database query is going on, the more complex features you have and the more resources your application consumes, the more workload units will be consumed as well. So if your application is running and it's consuming more workloads than you intended or than your plan allows you to consume, you will have to pay extra for the additional workload units that are not part of your plan. And then on the next month, you can, for instance, upgrade to another plan to cover for all the workload units you might need to run your application smoothly, okay? There is even a calculator on the Bubble's official website that you can check to see how many workload units you're expecting to get and check if the plan you have or the plan you're considering to pay for is going to be enough for you, okay? Now, of course, if your application is consuming way more workload units than it was supposed to, then it means you have to review how it was created, how it was built, and consider some optimization as well. Now, you don't have to pay for an extra plan while signing up for Bubble like you have to do with Webflow for the editor itself. It's all built in, like I've been mentioning in this video. So all you have to do is to pick a plan and choose one of these options here, and then you'll be good to go. The more you pay, the more resources you will get. And also, you don't have to pay for each individual application that you create on your account. You can create as many applications you want under the same account. So you only pay for the application once you say, hey, I'm ready to publish it live. I want to add my custom domain. Then you start paying for a plan. Of course, I also recommend you go to their main websites and check more information about each specific plan. Check the full comparison between all the plans with all the information about each individual feature they offer for each individual plan. That's going to be very important for you to make your decision. Okay, we've talked about pricing, but now let's talk about another topic, community. Which one has a better community? Well, luckily, both Bubble and Webflow have amazing communities. They both have official forums that you can use to ask questions and make friends. Honestly, like the Bubble community is amazing. There are a lot of bubblers out there that I'm sure if you ask a question or if you ask for help, they will be ready to help you out. Also, the Webflow community has a lot of folks out there building, creating experiments, sharing templates, sharing articles, tutorials. You can find a bunch of tutorials on YouTube. You can find blog articles. You can go to the forums like I've mentioned. You can find many resources both for Webflow and for Bubble as well. And that's the beauty of the no-code space. We have a lot of folks building with no-code nowadays, building with Bubble, building with Webflow, if not both. And also myself including, I'm also always here trying to help with videos like this, with other tutorials as well. So both communities are really amazing. There are a lot of folks out there that you can rely on, ask for help, and I'm sure you'll be not only able to find the answers you're looking for, but also make friends along the way. Now tell me, which one of these amazing no-code tools are you gonna use on your next project, Bubble or Webflow? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if there is anything that I haven't mentioned or covered in this particular video, you can also give me ideas of future topics and other video ideas that I can create here on the channel in the future. So if you want to contribute or say something, send your message down below as well. Now, if you want to continue learning more about automation and tech, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I catch you on the next one. Let's automate your business.